What's going on, everyone? So, with my latest video, this is part of a series where I talk about a certain composer and give you guys my top 10 favorite scores from said composer, as well as some honorable mentions. I've done such composers in the past, such as Hans Zimmer, Cliff Martinez, Carter Burwell, and many others. You guys can check that playlist out down below. But guys, you clicked on this video, so you know this time around I'm giving you guys my top 10 favorite Howard Shore film scores. Now, keep in mind, this is a subjective list, meaning that it is not objective. Mine's going to be different from yours, and that's what's great about film as an art form is that it is subjective, not objective. So I'm looking forward to seeing what yours is going to be in the comment section down below. And also keep in mind that for me, there's going to be a lot of David Cronenberg films. David Cronenberg and Howard Shore work quite a bit together, so just bear that in mind. If you don't know who David Cronenberg is, he works a lot in terms of horror, specifically body horror, so you'll be seeing a lot of scores specifically of that nature. So buckle up, guys. I'm proud to give you guys the honorable mentions, and they're going to go from 10 to 1, with number 1, of course, being my favorite Howard Shore score. So, guys, enough exposition. Let's get started. So, kicking things off with honorable mentions, we have Doubt. A very simple score, but at the same time, as it builds, it does have some nuance and some complexity to it. I really dug the score for this. I think that's a very underappreciated score. The film itself also seems to be underrated these days. At the time, it was very well received, but nobody really talks about this film. But it's a very good film, and it's very much so bumped up by Howard Shore's excellent score. So, highly recommend you guys check out the score. Next honorable mention, we have Hugo. So Hugo, the interesting thing about Hugo is that it's a score that got nominated for Best Original Score at the Oscars, yet it's very hard to actually listen to the score. And by that, I mean you can't really find it on Spotify or Apple Music. You pretty much have to go on YouTube to track down the score, which is a shame because the score is really good, especially in the film. It matches the imagery with ease. It's very emotional at times. So definitely a score that well earned that Oscar nomination. Like, it's a really, really good score. So very happy to say, highly recommend you guys check out the score. Next up, forgot to mention, Hugo was directed by Martin Scorsese. Yes, Martin Scorsese directed a film that's PG, geared towards children. And the next one also happens to be a Martin Scorsese directed film, and that is The Aviator. So The Aviator is a really, really good score. It's very rambunctious. It's very adventurous. It's a score that really doesn't get that much attention. I know it got a nomination for original score, but you don't really hear people talk about this as like one of his best scores, but I would say it definitely is. I mean, it's a very, as I mentioned, adventurous score, but I think it also really helps with, moving along with the pacing and the editing of this film. So I think it flows really nicely, and yeah, that's why I have it as an honorable mention. Next up, this is the first Cronenberg film that I'm going to be talking about, and we have Eastern Promises. Yes, Eastern Promises, fantastic film. That score is so good, so good. It's one of the first things that you hear in the film, the score seeping into the sound mix, and it really sticks with you. I think that specifically the ending scene, it's a gut punch. I think it's very saddening, it's very melancholy based, and I just think it fits the imagery perfectly. It also matches David Cronenberg's intentions, and I know I mentioned body horror and how David Cronenberg is known for that. This is not a body horror film, although there is a lot of emphasis on bodies in the film, but it is a gangster film, and I do think that it's a very, very unique score, especially for the genre. So if you've been sleeping on this film, I highly recommend you watch it. It's one of my favorite films of all time, but additionally, the score is excellent. So highly recommend you check out the score. And the last honorable mention, similar to Hugo, this is a score that's very hard to find, which is a shame because it's a great score. I mean, it was so close to making my top 10. The last honorable mention we have Ed Wood. Ed Wood is a film that doesn't get talked about too much, even though it did pretty well at the Oscars back in 1994. I think it won for Best Supporting Actor and Best Makeup. It's really good. It's a great looking film, and the sound mixing is excellent, but what really helps that sound mixing is Howard Shore's score. When it seeps into the sound mix, it's awesome. I think it works really, really well with the film, and I just think that it sounds otherworldly, but at the same time matches the time period that it's set in. So it's a very unique score, and I do think that it is so, so good. And I almost had this in my top 10, but there were 10 other scores that I think are a little bit better. And yeah, without further ado, guys, let's talk about the top 10. So, my number 10, we have Naked Lunch. This is a David Cronenberg film. It is body horror. It's a very surreal art house film, and it's a very jazzy score. It's probably one of the strangest films that you'll see if you're new to Cronenberg, of course. if you're a fan of Cronenberg, it's like it fits right in. But it's a very odd film. It's very bizarre in regards to with how it's directed, but that's one of the appeals for me. And I think that Howard Shore clearly got the assignment, and he said, okay, I know what to do. I know how to really, amp things up. And I think that what he does, especially with the instruments, specifically like the horns, it's excellent. I think it's a fantastic score. It's a shame that it didn't get nominated for Best Original Score when it came out, but it's a very, very good score. So please check out the score. If you're not really into bizarre films, or if you're not really open to that, at least check out the score. It is on Apple Music as of right now, and I think Spotify too. So check out the score. It's awesome. So Naked Lunch, it's my number 10. Next up, my number 9. This film makes Naked Lunch seem like a normal film. My number 9, we have Crash. No, not Crash that won Best Picture. That's the film about racism. This is the film about people that have an interest, fetishized interest, of car crashes. Yeah, this is one of the strangest films I've ever seen. And for me, when I say strange, I'm not saying like, oh, that's a bad thing. I love strange. I think strange is a good thing. And I think that what Cronenberg did with this film is really, really good. He really challenges viewers. And I think that what helps is Howard Shore's score. His score is also challenging. It's a very, very unique score. Like, it is so, so good. As soon as it, cranks up into the sound mix at the very beginning, you're in for a very unique audio experience. And I think that if you're not open-minded enough to check out the film, which I can to some extent, I can understand. I can, because again, it is not for everyone. Not for everyone in the slightest. Some people just don't want to be challenged. I get that. But at least listen to the score, because the score is fantastic, and that's why I have it as my number 9. Next up, my number 8. This is another Martin Scorsese film, and that is The Departed. Incredible score. This is a film that blends many genres seamlessly, and what's great about Howard Shore is that he, came on board and he knew the assignment, and similar to The Aviator, he matches the pacing and the editing with ease. I mean, I think that this score is just so, so snappy, and I've listened to the score countless times on its own. I think that not only does it work really, really well while watching the film, on its own, it's such a good score. So highly recommend you at least listen to the score. The Departed, it's a modern day classic, so please check out the film as well if you haven't for some reason done so. But excellent film, excellent score. So Departed, that's my number 8. Next up, my number 7, another Cronenberg film. I apologize in advance. We have Videodrome, Long Live the Flesh. Videodrome, it's not quite as strange as Crash or Naked Lunch, but it is definitely still not exactly what I would deem mainstream. But it is a film that makes you challenge your reality. It challenges themes such as, media, violence, specifically involving guns. It's a very challenging film. One of the things I especially love about this film is the score. I think that right away within the first 5 minutes, I knew that I was in for a treat with, the audio experience. And I think that Howard Shore's score, the fact that it didn't get nominated for an Oscar is a real shame. I think it's one of the best scores of the 1980s for sure. Just an incredible film. And yeah, again, I'm going to pause in regards to recommending the film because, again, Cronenberg's not for everyone for sure, and especially his body horror, specifically his surrealistic body horror. I would start with something like The Fly, which does have a really good score, but at the very least, please check out the score for this film. It's really, really good. But the film, if you are an open-minded viewer, highly recommend the film as well. But yeah, Videodrome, that's my number 7. Next up, my number 6, this is one of the more mainstream Cronenberg films. And I know, like I said, I gave you guys a warning. I bet I was going to be talking about a lot of Cronenberg films, but that's because Cronenberg works a lot with Howard Shore, so it comes with the territory. My number 6, we have A History of Violence. I love this film. I think it's one of those films that 20 years later, because I forgot to mention I'm filming this on May 3rd of 2025, so this is a film that came out in 2005, turns 20 this year. 20 years later, nobody seems to really be talking about this film, which is a shame because it's one of those films that you want to go into knowing as little as possible, and I promise you, you will be shocked and surprised. It's not even just those aspects, it's really Howard Shore's score and how deceptively simple it seems, and yet at the same time, it's very complex. The themes involving the characters, like he has specific themes for the characters, and as they, progress the characters, so too do the themes. And I love that. I think that that's what makes him such a great composer, is him being able to do that. And you'll see it in most of these films, like certain characters will have certain themes, and I think that that's what really differentiates the good composers with the all-timers. And I think Howard Shore definitely is one of the all-timers. So, great film. This is one I can wholeheartedly recommend to everyone. I think that everyone could watch this film and appreciate it. There's a lot of stuff to appreciate under the surface. One of those things is the score. I highly urge you to, at the very least, listen to the score. It's a great, great score. So, love History of Violence, love Howard Shore's score, and yeah, that is my number 6. All right, now we get to the nitty-gritty. Top 5, guys. So, kick things off, my number 5, this is a film that more so gets talked about for its writing and its acting, but I personally think that the score is as great as those aspects that I just mentioned. My number 5, we have Spotlight. Spotlight is a really, really good film. It's an incredible film, I actually will say. It's in my top 25, and one of the things that stands out is that immediately when the score seeps into the sound mix, you know you're in for a fast-paced film that really matches the investigative journey of these characters. I think it's a score that doesn't get talked about enough. I listen to it personally once a month, once every 2 months. Really, really good score. I think that it's one of the finest of the 2010s, and that's why I have it as my number 5. Next up, my number 4, this is a film that a lot of you are probably like, is he going to include this franchise in his top 10? And it's like, of course I am. My number 4, we have The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. So, a lot of these scores that I mentioned, when you're watching the film, some people might not immediately think of the score, which is a shame because for me, all these films that I mentioned, I immediately notice the score, and that's not a bad thing. It's because I love film scores. Film scores and cinematography are my bread and butter. This is a film, though, that even if you're not really into film scores, if you show this to anybody, they're going to recognize the music because the music is that influential. And it's also one of those things that full circle. I mentioned earlier about how what I love about Howard Shore as an all-time composer is the fact that he has it where each of his characters have their own theme. And I think it's what elevates his scores. This is the film, though, that every single character pretty much has their own theme. And not only do they have their own theme, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, they build throughout the journey of the 3 films. They build their themes and also at the same time also have other themes as more characters are introduced. And it's a very ambitious score. I think that this one sets this tone for all 3 films in regards to the score, and I think that it won a well-deserved Best Original Score. So it's one of the finest film scores you'll ever listen to for sure. If you've been sleeping on this film, I highly recommend you watch it. But at the very least, if you're like, I'm not really into fantasy, at least check out the score. The score is incredible, and that's why I have it as my number 4. Next up, my number 3, this is a film. Oh, wait, my bad. I gotta put this over here. I'm not done with the trilogy, guys. So anyways, my number 3, this is a score that most people don't really think about because this is a film that they more so talk about the twist, the acting, the writing, the cinematography. But I think the score needs to be talked about as well because it is very eerie, it's very complex, and it is, of course, my number 3, Seven. Seven is a score that, let's face it, there are many sequences that would not be as intense if not for the score. The score is incredible. I think that specifically the chase scene, listen to the score during that chase scene and tell me that another composer would have been able to do something like that. They wouldn't have, because Howard Shore's music for this is so complex, so deep, and yet at the same time, it's eerie. You can't help but when you're listening to the score on its own, you start thinking about some of the imagery that's in this film. And it's, again, David Fincher working with Howard Shore. I think it was a match made in heaven. So I do wish that the two would work together more so, but unfortunately they kind of stopped doing that. I think it was in the early 2000s. But Seven, it's a great, great score. It doesn't get talked about enough. And that's why I have it as my number 3. Next up, my number 2, like I said, I had to switch it from here to here because I'm not done with the trilogy. My number 2 is The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, which, let me state this right now, for a while, this was a film that was my number one Howard Shore score. Like when people would ask me, because I do have some friends that love Howard Shore, they would ask me what my favorite Howard Shore score was. I would always say Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. And I do think it's an incredible score. I mean, it's a score that's my number 2. So it's not a slash score. It's a very, very ambitious score. Like I said earlier, the Fellowship of the Ring really sets the tone with all the themes of the characters. This is a film that takes all those themes, builds on them, and at the same time has a very epic sounding scope. And it matches the vision of Peter Jackson seamlessly. So it's an incredible score. I urge you to, if you haven't seen this film, at the very least, listen to the score. It is one of the best scores that you'll ever listen to. I think it is fantastic. And that's why I was my number 2. Next up, my number 1. This is one of my favorite films of all time. This is one of those films that when I look at the Oscars that it got nominated for, I say to myself, how did this not even get nominated for Best Original Score? My number 1, we have The Silence of the Lambs. I love this film. I think this is an incredible film. Again, most people talk about the writing, the acting, the directing, the suspense, the ending, the opening scene. Again, all those things are incredible. I think they're all amazing. But all of those things are elevated because of Howard Shore's score. This is one of those scores that as soon as it plays, you know what it's from. It's that influential. I love the score. I think that it's one of the finest scores ever made. I think it might be in my top 10 all time. Just going to say that. I know I'm doing a future video saying what my top 10 favorite scores are. Stay tuned for that. This might be one of my all-time favorites. I think that it is incredible. I listen to the score at least once a month. It's really, really good. So if you've been sleeping on this film for some reason, watch it. I highly urge you to do so. Listen to the score. Listen to how complex it is. Listen to the nuances with what Howard Shore does with all the instruments. It's an incredible score. So I can't emphasize that enough. Please check out the score at the very least. It's amazing. Silence of the Lambs, my number 1 Howard Shore score. But yeah, guys, that is my top 10 favorite Howard Shore film scores. Let me know what yours is in the comment section down below. I'm very curious to see what it is because like I mentioned earlier, I know everyone's going to be different. So I look forward to seeing what yours is in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, if you haven't done so already, be sure to follow me on Patreon, Letterboxd, subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.